Hello, Jamie from Inky&Scrappy, sharing with you today a new card series I'm going to be doing. It's for the beginning crafter or card maker. So if you're just starting out in this hobby, I want you to be able to create with confidence, and I want you to do it fairly, I don't want to say cheaply, but you know, without a big investment, especially if it's not something you don't know if you're going to like or not. You can really get away with a lot of things with a pair of scissors and some, you know, a coloring medium of some sort. But for stamping, I'm going to kind of show you what I'm going to use in my starter kit. A lot of these things I have for my card class that I do locally, and so it's kind of one of those, they're your basics, and you really don't need to spend a lot to get started, and I think that's a big thing. Coupons. Coupons are like my #1 recommendation. Hobby Lobby doesn't have coupons anymore, but they do like their papers on buy one get one 50% off, that sort of stuff. And Michael's has coupons, so you know, those are going to be kind of where I'm going to go. I will try to link things down below if I can find them on their websites for things that you do or that you need. So to start, I would say basically you need an ink pad. I will tell you, L'Enfant Jet Black ink is probably my favorite. It is both alcohol marker friendly. It is also water. Is it this one waterproof? Yes. It is also waterproof, fast drying, and permanent. So the other option is Hero Arts Intense Black ink. That one is the same basically as this one. I mean, they're different brands. They stamp a nice dark image, and they're going to give you good results, and they're going to work with multiple mediums. So if you don't know if you want to go with an alcohol marker or watercolor or colored pencils, one of these two is going to be your go-to, because they're both going to work with both of those mediums. So keep that in mind. The other thing you might want is a VersaFine Onyx Black ink pad. The other option is there's a Claire Nocturne Black ink pad. These are pigment inks. Pigment inks don't dry as fast, but they give you, this one gives you a very nice, crisp, clean sentiment image right away. So I use this one mostly for sentiment stamping on the inside, on the outside, those types of things. And if you ever want to get into heat setting or embossing, which we'll talk about down the road, this one I use with clear embossing powder to give that raised black. Without black embossing powder, you can get away with clear embossing powder over this one, and it creates A, a well for watercolor, and B, it gives you a nice finished glossy look. So we'll talk about that in the series as we go along. So it's one that I would suggest getting, is the VersaFine Onyx Black. That's the one I reach for the most, and I think you'll like it. The other ink options, you don't need these. Keep that in mind. You can definitely do it with just colored paper and crayons. Is some distress oxide, or distress inks, not oxides. Well, you want them to. Eventually you'll want them to. But distress inks. These can be used as watercolor. I use them a lot. Class-wise, I use them almost every class. We use this kit. You don't need to go with these colors. Go with a rainbow palette. The little cubes come in packs of 4, and a lot of times they're in, you know, when I say rainbow, I mean Roy G. Biv. So get a red, an orange, a yellow, a green, a tealy blue maybe, a blue, a purple, and then some basic tones. I would look for probably antique linen, a brown of some sort. I prefer vintage photo or walnut stain, and then like a gray and maybe a black soot. Those are all just options. Look for something that's going to give you all of your main colors and then some of your neutrals. That's kind of what you want. We did pick up, so my sister-in-law, I had her pick up, it's like a Tim Holtz starter kit for ink, distress inks. And so that had, I think there was a brown, the vintage, I think there was vintage photo, don't quote me, I know there was antique linen, and there was one other color in there. There was not black soot. That was, I think, the only one that wasn't in there. So, you know, it gave you a good assortment. I want to say it was about $19 at Michael's, and we had a coupon. That's where I'm at. The other thing that was in there was an ink blender. It was the foam style ones. I don't have any foams readily available because they're all in my book. But so they come with foams. We'll talk about those as we go along here, and I'll show you how to do it. But that ink pad, those ink pads will give you your basic for skies, grass, watercoloring, mixing and matching, getting different looks. And we'll talk about that. The other thing that was in that kit, I pulled it out. It's here somewhere. This is what happens. Okay, is a distress ink brush. So this is, sorry, we ran out of focus. So this is a blending brush. It's kind of, well, this one's, okay, there we go. I was going to say it's not working for me today. But this one kind of gives you the bristly feel, and it's going to give you a softer blend than those foam sponges are. And so this is one to have in your stash. It comes in that starter kit. And so it's a good try, you know, a good one to try if you want. And it also comes with a little mini mister. So those are all good things to kind of start with. And for under 20 bucks, it's a pretty good mix of stuff. And there's a little pamphlet in there that kind of guides you along. The other thing is important is bristle smooth paper. Paper is probably, when you're coloring, one of your biggest yays or nays. So it's either going to work with what you're using, or it's not going to make it, it's going to make it harder to make it look good. Does that make sense? I don't know. Bristol Smooth is probably your multi-purpose one. Bristol Vellum isn't going to be as smooth, so it's not going to give you as good of a look. But Bristol Smooth is amazing for blending, ink blending. It works fairly well for alcohol marker coloring. It's one that I stamp my images on for class, because sometimes I don't know if we're going to do watercolor or alcohol marker coloring or colored pencil. It's just an all-around great base paper to have in your stash. You know, and we'll talk about those as we go along here. The other thing that you might want is a paper cutter. This one is the Tim Holtz one. It's probably my favorite. Michael's has a cheaper version that's, I mean, it's similar. It's probably great. I haven't tried it. But it also comes, this one has a cutting blade, and it comes with a scoring blade that you can pop in there. The Michael's one does too. So the Recollections brand has one too. If you're going to get one, I would go with one that's going to cut 12 by 12 paper right away. Not because you're going to use 12 by 12 paper necessarily, but if you're trying to cut a piece of paper the long way, it's going to give you that option to make your cards top fold. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So I usually, you know, this is top fold. So when you cut your paper this way, the long way, and then score it in half, the shorter way, you know what I mean. So ultimately, you're going to get a card that opens like that, as opposed to your A2 style. They're both A2. So we're going to do A2 styles on this one. So this is landscape vertical, I guess. It'll give you the vertical cut, which the smaller paper cutters won't allow you to do. So those are options. Let's see. That was me dropping stuff. The other thing I would suggest, you don't need it, but this is the Stamping Pro platform. It's a much cheaper version of some of the other ones that are out there. This one comes from a Belgium, I think it's Belgium company. I picked it up on Amazon for under $30. So it's a great tool to have. It's going to give you the options to stamp better. This is what I'll be using in all of my card videos for the starter series, just because it allows you to stamp and restamp, and it has lots of, it's just great when it comes to, you know, versatile. So I think that is basically the basics. You're going to need something to color with. Either it be color pencils, watercolor. And when I say watercolor, I can totally be talking about your distress inks. These ones will watercolor for you, and we'll go over that in the different classes that I'm gonna do, and they're gonna be all real time. It's kind of how that one goes, because there's questions. If you are gonna add in some distress oxide inks, I will get into some distress oxide inks. I would start with black soot to kind of give you some basics, and then a blue and a green, because clouds and grass, right? So my favorite cloud one is tumbled glass, but you can go with a little bit darker. I'm trying to think. Broken china would be an okay one to go with. Salty ocean, those ones. Faded jeans is kind of like a stormy blue sky one. All of those would be great sky ones. For grass, I would stick to either mowed lawn, rustic wilderness, lucky clover, depending upon. Even pine needles and evergreen bough would be great ones, but those are kind of the ones that if you're starting out collecting, I would get those. And then pick your favorite colors from there. Colors that you use, but I love blues and greens, so I started, when I did my collecting, I had all the blues and greens. I didn't always have any of the other colors because I love blues and greens. So it's something that I create a lot with, and I used a lot in my works. Now I switch out and I go in streaks color-wise because that's how I create. Let's see, is there anything else? Oh, the other thing with blender. So we talked about this kind of blending brush. I forgot to say this kind of blending brush. These are makeup brushes. I picked these up at the Dollar Tree. So, you know, cheap and easy. If you're gonna do a blue and a green, we're gonna do lots of grass and clouds. So these are the ones you're going to want to get. They're just like a soft makeup brush, and they're fairly reasonable. I will link the set that I have from Amazon down below, just because it's a big set and they're color coded, which is really nice. So it kind of gives you an option. Plus, if you have dye and oxide inks. So oxide inks are going to be a pigment base, or they have a pigment in them. So they're a dye pigment fusion, and you don't want to mix your oxide brushes with your dye brushes, because once you go from an oxide pad to a dye ink pad, you're going to ruin your dye ink pad. So keep that in mind when you're color blending with your inks. I will try to reiterate those things in the videos as I'm going through them. Other things that you might want. Just a random spray bottle, you know, from wherever. A flour cloth sack or a microfiber cloth. It's going to help you clean your stamps and clean up your mess that you make along the way. Let's see if there's anything else that I can think of. Oh, this little bad boy here. What is it? It's just a placemat that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. Yeah, I think I picked up for $1. Okay, so usually they have them in their, like, the spring or the summer or the whatever their current shop is, and they're usually always 50% off. So look for, I did these because they were black and white and simple, but the back side is white. So usually when we use them for card class, we use the white side up, and it just helps you. You can ink smush on them, you can do lots of things on them. You don't need the mixed media glass mat. It works well and it cleans up easy, and it's $1, so it's not like, you know, it's not going to break the bank, I don't think. Other things that you might want to start. Some good paper. I would suggest either Accent Opaque paper from Amazon is super cheap. Get a heavyweight one for card bases. That's what I use for my card bases. It's cheap, and you know, I run to the local print like newspaper, and they cut it for me for like $5. They do the cut. All I have to do is score it and fold it down the road. But you can pick up the extra heavyweight paper from Hobby Lobby, like the white and the cream will be, that's what I use for a lot of my card bases as well. I usually look for those when they're buy one get one free or buy one get one half off. That's that's the way to go. The other thing to do is even just the pre-made card bases from Hobby Lobby in the multiple colors. I use those a lot for card class just because the envelopes are there and it's easy. Let's see. The other thing you might want to look into is, let's see here, if you like sparkle and shine. This one I found, it's called Winsor & Newton Watercolor Medium. It's an iridescent medium that you can just mix with your watercolors or your inks like on your mat and kind of use it that way. You can also just splatter with it. You can put it in a little mini mister or spray bottle and spray your project with it. It'll give you lots of shimmer and shine without a lot of, I think the bottle was $10 at Michael's, and of course I used a coupon. Other than that, oh, glue. Obviously you're gonna need some glue, so I'm trying to think which one we picked up for. I like glitter art glue. It's what I use. Barely Art glue works. Double-sided ink runner works, or ink runner, double-sided tape runner will work as well. Something like this. Nuvo, I think there's a Nuvo one. Jamie, do you have glue? Yes. So Nuvo makes one that is really nice. I mean, look for glue that's in the paper craft section. I'm trying to think which other things I will use to start with. Scissors. So think just, the Cutter Bees has one of the best, you know, fussy cutting scissors, I guess. And you really don't use the tip for it so much. You know, there's a trick to fussy cutting or cutting around your images. So that's something we will talk about. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I have, you know, watch your local craft store, or not craft, well, craft stores for good clearances and coupon sales. The other thing is we found some watercolor, like waxy, I don't know what, they're like watercolor wax crayons at Goodwill for like, I don't know, they were a couple of bucks. I think they were $2. It was a $50 set. So those are some things that you can think of using. Just get a cheap watercolor paint set from Target or Walmart. Colored pencils work really well to start out. My class kit, I have just like 24 Crayola ones, and then we use Gamma-Sol to kind of work on color blending and ink blending. So I will probably switch my mediums up that I'm using to color with in my cards that we're going to do in this series, but you can use whatever medium you have available to you and make it work. So I'll kind of try to give you tips and tricks on that. Let's see, before this one gets too long, I think I touched on the basics. So we have a paper cutter, scissors, stamp platform. You can do stamp blocks as well, but for the amount that a stamp block is compared to the stamp platform, I mean, I shouldn't say you don't need stamp blocks because they come in handy for certain things and techniques as well. But you can do all of it with the stamp platform that I showed you. Ink, your stamping ink, your sentiment ink, stamps obviously. Look and see what you can find that you like. I'll probably stick to little tiny stamp sets to start with, and I'll build up from there, obviously. Glitter glue is a really good option for embellishing things if you don't have sequences and those types of things to keep you down in the, you know, not having to buy all the things, right? So Stickles has multiple different white iridescent ones. This one's Unicorn, which is more yellow pigmented. There's Diamond is probably one of my favorite ones to use, or loose Prismaglitter works well too. Just realize your dry time on the glitter glue is a little longer than your Prismaglitter, but the Prismaglitter is going to be messier. Let's see, is there anything that I missed that we need yet? If you think I missed anything, comment below and I'll try to hit it in one of the next ones. I'm going to try to do a video a week. You probably won't see my face again for a while. Yeah, I don't do, you know, as you can tell, I'm a really good girl. I don't make up. let's see if there's anything else I can think of to tell you. If you can find a die cut machine, I would definitely go for it. You know, cheap. Like, I've been looking at Goodwill for one for my sister-in-law. I gave her my old Sidekick. I had the original Sizzix red Sidekick. The Tim Holtz one here, I picked up the new one. I think I found it at Hobby Lobby when they were getting rid of everything. I think I got it for like $15. I think they're $45 normally. So this is a good one to have. We will probably use this size stuff for a bunch of the cards just because I don't like cutting, but I'll do some cutting for you. Oh, the other thing, that was one of the other things. Michaels has a 3-pack of masks. So when I talk mask, well, yeah. So it's like, let's see here. So it has like, this is a mask or a stencil, okay? Like a stencil mask. So it has a cloudy one, it has a grassy one, and then it's got one with like hills maybe, but it's a 3-pack, and it's a pretty good 3-pack for what it costs at Michael's. It wasn't bad at all. So that would be one that I would suggest you pick up because we'll do a lot of that. But you can definitely just take a piece of paper and cut a cloudy, you know, swoops for clouds and swoops for hills, and we'll use that for ink blending, and we'll go that route. I think those are all of the things that I have for you today. But so we're gonna start with a card, and I will usually give you directions on sizes to cut. Everything that we're going to do in this one is going to be A2. It's just, I think, going to be easier for me to remember we're only doing A2s. A2, an A2 size card. What size is that? So A2 is 5.5 by 4.25 for your front panel. So it's basically a piece of 5 or a piece of 11 by 8.5 piece of paper cut in half, or quarters, I guess. So, but to make your actual card base, it's a full sheet of paper cut in half this way or cut in half that way and folded in the middle. That's an A2 size card. So I think that's all I have for today. So hopefully you join me for this one. It should be fun. So if you're new to card making, it's gonna be a starter series. We'll see how it goes. So keep getting inky. Bye. Hello.